So 13th chapter entitled Descendants of the Dhruv Maharaj. Suta Uvacha
Suta Uvacha
Nishamya Kausharavinopavărnitam
Nishamya Kausharavino Pavarinitam
Dhruvasya Vaikuntapadadhirohanam.
Dhruvasya Vaikuncha Padadirohanam
प्ररूढभावो भगवत्यदोक्षज अदोक्षजे
Parudha Bhavo Bhagavatya Adhoksha Saje
प्रष्टुं पुनस्तं विदुरप्रचक्रमे
Prastum Punastam Vidura Prachakrame. Translation. Suta Goswami, continuing to speak to all the rishis, headed by Saunaka, said, after hearing Maitreya Rishi describe Dhruv Maharaj's ascent to Lord Vishnu's abode, Vidura became very much enlightened in devotional emotion, and he inquired from Maitreya as follows.
So Prarudha Bhava means Vidura, after hearing, his devotion to the Lord increased. Bhagavati Adokshaje Prarudha Bhava. He heard about the story of Dhruva, but hearing the story of a devotee, it increases one's devotion to Bhagavan. So his devotion to the Lord increased, and then again he began to inquire from Maitreya Rishi. Hmm. So, so we see in the third and fourth canto, after every particular story, we will find that how Vidura becomes more enlightened and Vidura's devotion to the Lord increases. And with the increased enthusiasm, he questions further. Hmm. So the activities of the Supreme Lord and the devotees are so fascinating that neither the devotee who is describing nor the devotee who is hearing, neither of them become fatigued by the inquiries and the answers. So that is the nature of the transcendental subject matter. Transcendental subject matter is so nice that one never becomes tired of hearing or speaking. So one can experience that more in a purified platform. The conditioned stage, just like a person who is affected by jaundice is not able to taste the sweetness of the sugar cane. Sometimes we become tired in the conditioned stage. So other people may think that how can one devote so much of time simply in talks of God? But devotees are never satisfied. Vayam tuna vitrupyama uttama shloka vikrame yat shrinvatam rasadhyanam swadu swadu pade pade. We never become tired of hearing about Krishna. Shukdev Goswami glorifies Parikshit Maharaj. Sadhu prishtam mahabhaga tvaya bhagavatottama yan nutanasya ashishasya shrinvan api katam muhu. O most fortunate Parikshit, you have inquired very nicely. Although constantly hearing the pastimes of the Lord, you are perceiving the activities of Krishna to be newer and newer. Hmm. So Prabhupada also says that the Hare Krishna mantra contains only 3 words. But still the devotees can go on chanting this mantra 24 hours a day without feeling fatigued. Hmm. In the Bhagavatam, there are other verses. First canto, 11th chapter. यद्यप्यसौ पार्श्वगतो रहोगतस् तथापि तस्यांग्रि युगम नवम नवम पदे पदे का विरमेत तत्पदात् चलापि यच्छ्रीर न जगाति करिचित. Although the queens of Krishna were accustomed to staying with Krishna every day in a most secluded places, but still they found the lotus feet of Krishna to be newer and newer. Hmm. They found the lotus feet of Krishna to be newer and newer. Hmm. Even about Uddhava it is explained that Sakatam sevaya tasya kalena jarasam gatah पृष्ठो वार्तां प्रतिब्रूयात् भर्तुपादाव अनुस्मरण. So Uddhava's service attitude towards Krishna did not get slackened even in the old age. Hmm. So therefore, when he heard the questions of Vidura, he immediately went into ecstasy. Hmm. So there are many verses like that. Navyavad hridaye yajño brahmaitad brahmavadibihi न मुह्यन्ति न शोचन्ति न हृष्यन्ति यतो गतः. So the all-knowing super soul within the heart of a pure devotee makes everything increasingly fresh. The super soul exists in everyone's heart, but in the heart of the devotee, the super soul reveals himself as ever increasingly fresh. So, being inspired by the super soul, the devotee experiences increased transcendental bliss in the association of his devotional service. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita also we find the Bhagavad Gita, the famous shloka comes in the 10th chapter. Arjuna says that Vistarenatmano yogam vibhutim cha janardana भूय कथय तृप्तिर्हि शृण्वतो नास्ति मे मृतम. Please describe your vibhutis in great detail, because the more I am never satiated in hearing about you, for the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. Like that. Next shloka. Now Vidura is asking questions to, in 4 shlokas, Vidura is asking a question to Maitreya Rishi. So if you remember, in the end of the previous chapter, Maitreya Rishi mentioned that Narada Muni went to the sacrificial arena of the Prachetas and he spoke the glories of Dhruva Maharaj in the sacrificial arena. And then there were 3 shlokas were mentioned. Now, taking clue from that particular mention, taking clue from the description, Vidura is asking that who are those Prachetas? Why did Narada Muni go there and describe the story of Dhruva Maharaj? He is asking about those Prachetas. Vidura Uvacha.
Viduruvacha
Kete Prachetaso Nama
Kete Prachetaso Nama
Kasya Patyani Suvrata
Kasyapatyani Suvrata
Kasyanvavaye Prakyataha
Kasyanavavai Prakyata
Kutrava Satramasata.
Putrava Satramasata. Translation. Vidura inquired from Maitreya, O greatly advanced devotee, who are the Prachetas? To which family did they belong? Whose sons were they? And where did they perform the great sacrifices?
So he's asking about the Prachetas. Kete Prachetas, so whose sons are they? Kasya Apatyani Suvrata. Kasya Anvavaye Prakyata. In which family In whose family did they become famous? Prakyata means famous. And Kutrava Satram, where was the sacrifice performed? Next shloka. Manye Mahabhagavatam
मन्ये महाभागवतम्
Naradam Devadarshanam
नारदं देवदर्शनम्
Yena Prokta Kriya Yogaha
येन प्रोक्तक्रियायोगः
Paricharya Vidirharehe.
परिचर्या विधिर्हरे. Translation. Vidura continued, I know that the great sage Narada is the greatest of all devotees. He has compiled the Pancharatrika procedure of devotional service and has directly made the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So Narada Muni is a Deva Darshanam. He directly got darshan of the Lord. Mahabhagavata. And Paricharya Vidhi refers to Narada Muni wrote the Pancharatrika scripture, which talks about how to worship the deity form of the Lord. So Prabhupada says that there are two ways of approaching the Supreme Lord. One is the Bhagavata Vidhi and another Pancharatrika Vidhi. Bhagavata Vidhi is the path of Shravanam and Kirtanam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, etc. Pancharatrika Vidhi is the method of temple worship. So Prabhupada says that in the Krishna consciousness movement, we accept both the processes. When a person accepts both Bhagavata Vidhi and Pancharatrika Vidhi, one can make a steady progress on the path of realizing the Supreme Personality of God. And this Pancharatrika Vidhi was first introduced by Narada Muni. In Bhagavata Vidhi, there is opportunity for hearing and chanting. But in Pancharatrika Vidhi, there is opportunity for using one's karmendriyas in the service of the Lord. So karmendriyas also have to be utilized. So because every person has got different bodily conditionings. So in order to bring a person to Sattva Guna so that he can focus properly in hearing and chanting, it is important that one engages in deity worship. So deity worship, it increases one's interest about the Supreme Lord, and also the deity worship increases one's capacity to hear about the Supreme Lord. The deity worship increases one's interest for Shravanam and Kirtanam, and it increases one's capacity for doing Shravanam and Kirtanam. So both have to be performed. Sometimes when a person performs only Pancharatrika Vidhi, and if we neglect Shravanam and Kirtanam, then the deity worship can become a burden for him. Or he may even use deity worship as a means to earn money. If he does not do Shravanam and Kirtanam. Sometimes in certain places in India, when you go to certain places, the pujaris, they demand so much of money. And sometimes they abuse also if somebody doesn't give money. Because they don't do Shravanam and Kirtanam. They are only doing deity worship. When we do Shravanam and Kirtanam, we understand about the importance of respecting the devotees. We understand about the Vaishnava Aparad. We understand about the glory of the Supreme Lord. Then when we understand these subjects, then that attitude of using the deity worship to earn money, that attitude will go away. So because of not engaging in Shravanam and Kirtanam, sometimes people who are engaged only in deity worship, they exhibit wrong attitude. Therefore, Prabhupada emphasizes the importance of engaging both to make steady progress. So Narada Muni, three qualities are mentioned. Mahabhagavata, Deva Darshana, and he compiled a book on Pancharatrika, deity worship. So Prabhupada, in one place in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada says that Srimad Bhagavatam enjoins that even without practicing deity worship, one can achieve the complete success of human life by any of the other processes of devotional service. But nonetheless, Vaishnavas following the path of Sri Narada and his successors endeavor to establish a personal relationship with the Lord by receiving the grace of a bona fide guru through initiation. And in this tradition, the devotees are obliged at the time of Diksha to begin engaging in deity worship. Another place Prabhupada says, although deity worship is not essential, the material conditioning of most candidates for devotional service requires that they engage in this deity worship. So when we consider their bodily and mental conditions, we find that the character of such candidates is impure and their minds are agitated. Therefore, to rectify this material conditioning, the great sage Narada and others have at different times recommended various kinds of regulations for deity worship. Next shloka. स्वधर्मशीलै पुरुषैर्
स्वधर्मशीलैः पुरुषैः
भगवान् यज्ञपूरुषः
भगवान् यज्ञपुरुषः
युज्यमानो भक्तिमता
युज्यमानो भक्तिमता
नारदेनेरितखिल.
नारदेनेरित किल. Translation. While all the Prachetas were executing religious rituals and sacrificial ceremonies, and thus worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his satisfaction, the great sage Narad described the transcendental qualities of Dhruva Maharaj.
So Maitreya Rishi is explaining that when the Supreme Lord, who is the Yajna Purusha, was worshipped by the Prachetas, at that time, Narada described Dhruva Maharaj, or the Lord was praised by the devoted Narada. So Narada Muni not only glorifies the Lord, but he also likes to glorify the devotees of the Lord. So then Prabhupada talks about how Krishna has created the Chatur Varnyam. And in the Bhagavad Gita it is said that Sve Sve Karmanyabhirata Samsiddhim Labate Naraha. By executing one's prescribed duties to worship the Supreme Lord, every person can attain perfection. Atapumbur Dvijasreshta Varnashrama Vibhagashaha Swanishtitasya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. The purpose of executing one's Varnashram duties is to please the Supreme Lord. So when Prachetas were performing sacrifices according to this direction, Narada Muni was very satisfied and he glorified Dhruva Maharaj in the sacrificial arena. Next shloka. Yasta devarshina tatra
Yasta devarshina tatra
varnita bhagavat katah
varnita bhagavat katha
मह्यं शुश्रूषवे ब्रह्मन्
मह्यं शुश्रूषवे ब्रह्मन्
कात्स्येनाचष्टुमर्हसि
Katsyenachastumorhasi. Translation. My dear Brahman, how did Narad Muni glorify the Supreme Personality of God, and what pastimes were described in that meeting? I am very eager to hear of them. Kindly explain fully about that glorification of the Lord.
So, Narada Muni, how did he glorify the Supreme Lord to the Prachetas? What other things were described by Narada Muni there? So, what Narada Muni spoke to the Prachetas, the answer to this very question, it will come right at the last chapter of the fourth canto, 31st chapter. Narada Muni is meeting with the Prachetas. The answer to this question. But Vidura is asking this question here. The Bhagavatam is the Bhagavad Katha, topics about the pastimes of the Lord. Vidura was anxious to hear from Maitreya. What Vidura was anxious to hear, we can also hear 5000 years later, provided we are very eager. Maitreya Rishi, in order to answer this question about who the Prachetas are, the Prachetas come much later in the dynasty of Dhruva Maharaj. Therefore, Maitreya Rishi first he will start direct describing from the immediate descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. And then the topic of the Prachetas will come. So Maitreya Rishi begins the answer. ध्रुवस्य चोत्कलपुत्रः
ध्रुवस्य चोत्कलः पुत्रः
पितरिप्रस्थिते वनम्
पितरी प्रस्थिते वनम्
सार्वभौमश्रियं नैच्छद्
सार्वभौमं श्रियं नैच्छद्
अधिराजासनं पितुः
अधिराजासनं पितुः. Translation. The great sage Maitreya replied, My dear Vidura, when Maharaj Dhruva departed for the forest, his son Utkala did not desire to accept the opulent throne of his father, which was meant for the ruler of all the lands of this planet.
So Utkala, Naichad, he did not desire to accept the throne. Dhruvasya Chotkala Putra, his son did not want the throne. Sarvabhauma Shriyam Naichad. So, because Utkala was detached right from the beginning. Since the Prachetas were born in Dhruva's dynasty, the story of the Prachetas will appear in the narration of Dhruva's descendants. So, therefore, in order to narrate the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj, Maitreya Rishi starts describing from the immediate son of Dhruva Maharaj. So, Utkala neither wanted power nor the wealth of the whole earth. Sarvabhauma Shriyam Naichad. Sometimes the people want power, they may not want money. Sometimes people want money, they may not want power. But Utkala neither wanted power nor did he want the wealth. स जन्मनोपशांतात्मा
Sajanmano Santatma
निस्संगः समदर्शनः
Nisanga Samadarshana
ददर्श लोके विततम्
Dadarshaloke Vitatam
आत्मानं लोकमात्मनि.
Atmanam Lokam Atmani. Translation. From his very birth, Utkal was fully satisfied and unattached to the world. He was equipoised, for he could see everything resting in the super soul and super soul present in everyone's heart.
So Utkala's character is mentioned here. Sa Janmana Upashantatma. Upashantatma means was very peaceful right from the birth. Nissanga, without attachment. Samadarshana, he saw all beings as his own self. Dadarsha loka vitatau atmanam lokam atmani. He saw the Lord pervading everything in the world and the whole world within the Lord. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachamena pranashyati. Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter, I think 30th or 31st shloka. How a advanced yogi sees everything situated in Krishna and Krishna being situated within everything. So basically, Utkala was a Mahabhagavata devotee right from the beginning. So Mahabhagavata devotees explained that Sarva Bhuteshu Yaha Pashyed Bhagavad Bhavamatmanaha Bhutani Bhagavatyatman Yesha Bhagavatottamaha. The most advanced devotee sees within everything the soul of all souls, the Supreme Personality of God. Consequently, he sees systematically everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understands that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord. So Prabhupada says that the Mahabhagavata devotee's vision is not simply theoretical, but it is a consequence of the eyes anointed with the love for Krishna. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. Because his eyes are anointed with love for Krishna, he sees the world like that. The Prahlad Maharaj also had such a vision that Krishna Graha Grihitatma Naveda Jagadidrisham. He was completely captivated by the Krishna Graha. He saw Krishna in every situation. So the less advanced devotees, they often misunderstand the vision of Mahabhagavata, thinking that such great souls see Krishna's form at every moment. So Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that Sarvabhutani Yaha Pashyet. Pashyet means the Acharya says that the pure devotees are at the stage at which they are able to see Krishna's form at will, but it is not that they literally see Krishna's form at every moment. Otherwise, if only those who see Krishna's form constantly are topmost devotees, then Narada, Vyasa, and Shukadev, who did not always see the Krishna's form, would be inferior. So therefore, Sarva Bhuteshu Yaha Pashyet means they see everything in relation to Krishna. It means that these devotees, they have their overwhelming desire to see Krishna. So Prabhupada would often explain that when the topmost devotees see a tree, they do not see the tree transform into Krishna's form, but they see the tree in relation to Krishna. When they see the tree, they think immediately of Krishna. It is in that sense that they see Krishna constantly. So Utkala had the symptoms of Mahabhagavata. Prabhupada quotes this shloka, Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra. It is also confirmed in the Gita, Maya Tatamidam Sarvam Jagadavyakta Murtina. How Krishna is all pervading through his Avyakta, through his impersonal feature. So a highly advanced Mahabhagavata sees the same super soul existing within everyone's heart, regardless of the different material forms of the living entities. So the Mahabhagavata who experiences the Supreme Godhead's presence everywhere is never missing from the sight of the Supreme Lord. So Krishna also considers such a Mahabhagavata devotee as Sadhavo Hridayam Mahyam Sadhunam Hridayam Twaham Madanyat Tena Jananti Nagam Tebhyo Managapi. Such sadhus, they always reside in my heart. So, nor is the Supreme Lord ever lost from his sight. This is possible only when one is advanced in love of Godhead. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. Then further, next two shlokas describe the vision of the Utkala. We will continue this the next week. Hare Krishna. Anybody has any questions?
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Haribol Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Hare. Any other? You all returned from Vrindavan, Giriraj Sharan Road.
Yes, Prabhu.
How is the winter in Bombay? Is it?
Bombay is okay. Govardhan was extremely cold.
Okay.
In the night, maybe around 8 degrees or so.
Only 350
And 8 a.m.